What if everything you've been told about Christmas is a lie? For nearly 2,000 years, billions of people have celebrated December 25th as the birth of Jesus Christ. But here's the uncomfortable truth that religious institutions don't want you to know. Jesus was almost certainly not born in December. And it gets worse. The date we celebrate as Christmas, it was stolen, borrowed, appropriated from pagan sun worshippers who celebrated their god on the exact same day centuries before Jesus was even born. So why has the church been lying to you? Why did they choose December 25th? And what does this tell us about everything else we've been taught? By the end of this video, you'll never look at Christmas the same way again. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the most obvious problem. The Bible never mentions December 25th, not once. Think about that for a second. If Jesus' birthday was so important, wouldn't God have made sure it was recorded? The gospel writers were meticulous about details. They recorded genealogies, specific locations, even the names of minor characters. But somehow, they forgot to mention the exact date of the most important birth in human history? Here's what we do know from Scripture. Luke 2:8 tells us that shepherds were keeping watch over their flocks by night when Jesus was born. This is crucial, because in ancient Palestine, shepherds didn't keep their flocks out in the fields during winter. The weather was too harsh, too cold, too dangerous. They brought their sheep into shelters. But in December, the shepherds would have been indoors. The Gospel of Luke also mentions that Mary and Joseph traveled to Bethlehem for a Roman census. Historians tell us that Romans didn't conduct censuses in winter when travel was most difficult. They scheduled them during warmer months when people could actually make the journey. Every single biblical clue points away from a December birth. But here's the really controversial part. Early Christians didn't even celebrate Jesus' birthday. For the first 300 years of Christianity, there's no record of birthday celebrations. None. The early church fathers actually condemned birthday celebrations as pagan practices. So if the Bible doesn't give us a date, and early Christians didn't celebrate birthdays, where did December 25th come from? The answer will shock you. December 25th wasn't chosen by accident. It was chosen because it was already the biggest party of the year in the Roman Empire. Every December 25th, Romans celebrated Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, the birthday of the unconquered sun. This was the festival of Sol Invictus, the official sun god of Rome. They celebrated because December 25th marked the return of longer days after the winter solstice. But that's not all. The Romans also celebrated Saturnalia, a week-long festival of debauchery, gift-giving, and role reversals that climaxed around December 25th. It was like New Year's Eve, Mardi Gras, and Christmas all rolled into one massive celebration. Sound familiar? Now here's where it gets controversial. The Roman Church deliberately chose December 25th to compete with these pagan festivals. Around 336 AD, about 20 years after Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity, the Roman Church officially declared December 25th as Jesus' birthday. Not because they had new evidence, not because of divine revelation, but because they wanted to give new Christian converts something to celebrate instead of the pagan festivals they were used to. This wasn't about faith. This was about politics. This was about power. The church was trying to absorb pagan worship, not eliminate it. They figured if they couldn't beat the pagans, they'd join them, and then gradually convert them. But here's the question that should terrify every Christian. If the church was willing to lie about something as fundamental as Jesus' birthday, what else have they been lying about? The evidence for this religious cover-up is overwhelming, but it's been hidden in plain sight for centuries. Church historians freely admit that December 25th was chosen to coincide with pagan festivals. The Catholic Encyclopedia states it plainly. The date of Christ's birth is not known. The first mention of December 25th is in a Roman almanac for 336 AD. So why don't more people know this? Because questioning Christmas is questioning the foundation of Christian tradition. It's suggesting that the church, the same institution that claims to be the guardian of absolute truth, was willing to compromise with paganism for political gain. Think about the implications. If they lied about the date, what about the virgin birth? If they borrowed from pagan mythology, what about the resurrection? If they were willing to mix Christianity with sun worship, what other pagan elements did they absorb? The uncomfortable truth is that Christmas as we know it is a hybrid religion. It's Christianity mixed with Roman paganism, Germanic traditions, and commercial marketing. The Christmas tree? Pagan. The December date? Pagan. The gift giving? Pagan. Even the name Christmas wasn't used until the 11th century. Before that, it was just called the Feast of the Nativity. But here's what really proves the cover-up. Some Christian denominations refuse to celebrate Christmas at all. Jehovah's Witnesses, many Baptist churches, and early Puritan communities rejected Christmas specifically because of its pagan origins. They saw what most Christians refuse to see. Christmas is a compromise, a dilution, a betrayal of pure Christian faith. So, if Jesus wasn't born in December, when was he born? Biblical scholars have spent centuries trying to piece together the real date, and the evidence is fascinating. Theory 1. September, October. The most compelling evidence points to a fall birth. Here's why. Luke tells us that Mary conceived Jesus 6 months after Elizabeth conceived John the Baptist. If we trace back the Jewish priestly calendar and the timing of Zechariah's temple service, we get a conception date around December-January for Jesus, which means a September-October birth. This also explains why there was no room in the inn. September-October was harvest time, when thousands of people would have been traveling for seasonal work and religious festivals. Theory 2. Spring, March-April. Some scholars argue for a spring birth, pointing to the fact that shepherds would have been in the fields with their flocks, and the timing would align with the Jewish Passover season. Theory 3. We'll never know. The most honest answer? We don't know. The Gospel writers didn't record it because birthday celebrations weren't important to them. What mattered was the message, not the date. But here's what we do know. It definitely wasn't winter. It definitely wasn't December 25th. Every piece of historical, biblical, and archaeological evidence points away from a December birth. So what does this mean for Christianity? What does this mean for your faith? Option 1, denial. You can choose to ignore the evidence. You can keep celebrating Christmas on December 25th because, dismissively, tradition matters more than truth. Many Christians take this approach. Option 2, cognitive dissonance. You can acknowledge the evidence, but celebrate anyway because, rationalizing, it's not about the date, it's about the meaning. This is probably where most Christians land. Option 3, reformation. You can demand that your church acknowledge the truth and either change the celebration or abandon it entirely. This is the most controversial option. Option 4, the nuclear option. You can use this as evidence that Christianity itself has been corrupted from the beginning. Accusatory, if the church was willing to lie about something this fundamental, what else have they been lying about? But here's the question that should keep you awake at night. If Jesus himself knew that future generations would celebrate his birthday on the wrong date, mixed with pagan rituals, turned into a commercial enterprise, what would he think? Would he approve? Would he be disgusted? Would he recognize the religion that claims to follow him? The Jesus of the Gospels overturned tables in the temple because merchants were corrupting worship. What would he do with Christmas as we know it today? Here's the truth they don't want you to know. Christmas is not about Jesus. It never was. It's about empire. It's about control. It's about making pagans comfortable with a new religion by letting them keep their old traditions. December 25th is a lie, a beautiful, comforting, profitable lie that billions of people choose to believe because the truth is too uncomfortable. So this December 25th, when you're opening presents under your pagan tree, remember, you're not celebrating the birth of Jesus, you're celebrating the birth of the Roman Empire's greatest marketing campaign. The question is, Now that you know the truth, what are you going to do about it?